John Oliver is definitely a staple of late-night television, don't you think so? Featuring almost everything we can imagine, last week, Tonight with John Oliver has remained an insightful show that continues to have a massive effect on the world it jokes about itself. Alright, are you ready to see the top 10 John Oliver moments? Then let's get started. Number 10. Net neutrality. Several years ago, the Republican-led Federal Communications Commission has been marching along with its effort to roll back the net neutrality rules. And the HBO host John Oliver stepped in, taking aim at FCC Chairman Ajit Pai's proposal to gut the rules that ended with another call to arms for viewers to make their voices heard at the agency. The part that viewers were so amused with was when Oliver ridiculed Pai and his oversized Reese's coffee mug. Even back in 2014, when the rules were being debated, Oliver's encouragement to file comments to the FCC crashed the agency's website. And this time, he urged his viewers with a Shakespearean once more into the breach. As they responded, with the net neutrality comments rising from about 30,000 to more than 185,000 in just one day. The debate over net neutrality regulations was seemingly settled in 2015 when the FCC voted to implement prohibitions against internet service providers intentionally slowing down services or creating paid fast lanes on the information superhighway. Number 9. Televangelists. Churches are a cornerstone of American life. There are roughly 350,000 congregations in the United States, and many of them do great work, feeding the hungry, clothing the poor. But this is not a story about them. This is about the churches that exploit people's faith for monetary gain, Oliver said, who even sets his sights on the people who use religion to make millions and millions of dollars. He walked through how televangelists take money from the poor and often sick people and benefit from vague tax policies. And guess what? He set up his own church to test the limits of the law. Preachers claim that donations go to important church work. But then what was revealed was nothing like church work, but large private jets. Pointing to successful televangelist Kenneth Copeland, John said, "Preachers claim these jets are vital tools. A few years back, he asked his followers to help him buy a $20 million jet, promising it would only be used for church business. But a local news crew did some digging, and what they found will probably not surprise you." According to the investigation, Copeland ended up using the jet for ski resorts and exotic hunting trips, among other recreational and entertaining flights. And what did Oliver do? He dug this case further and found that televangelists benefit from vague tax policy because if you're registered as a religious nonprofit or a church, you are given broad exemptions over taxation and regulations. And yeah, he set up his own church to test the legal and financial limits of what religious entities can do. The church encouraged its worshipers to silently meditate on the nature of fraudulent churches and promise miracles in exchange for donations sent to an address the host gave out on screen and on the church website. Number 8. Paris Climate Agreement. Donald Trump pledged to remove the U.S. from the Paris Agreement on climate change, and France has stepped in to offer words of encouragement to Americans concerned about the future of our planet. We all agree that this is extremely dangerous to the world. France's President Emmanuel Macron issued a call and said, "I call on American scientists and responsible citizens. Come and work here with us to work together on concrete solutions for our climate, our environment." And he promised that France would not follow Trump's lead. An effing egomaniac for this. Trump's description of the agreement is so flamboyantly deceptive, it would be equally accurate to say compliance with the Paris Agreement would likely require all ducks to wear jean shorts. And it could cost each American 5 fish and a dump truck full of hamsters, said Oliver. Number 7. Border wall. In 2020, Oliver surfaced the topic of Trump's planned border wall between the U.S. and Mexico, which he's been discussing since the beginning of his 2016 campaign. Oliver played a clip of Trump outlining his reasoning behind its construction and reminded viewers that last week Tonight had played the very same clip in their first segment about the wall 4 years ago, when I was approximately 50 years younger, he said. Trump has continued to promise the construction of the wall despite the idea not only being racist but unbelievably expensive and, by the way, pointless. He even mentioned that Trump's former advisor, Steve Bannon, was arrested on charges of defrauding thousands of people by personally profiting off a scheme to raise money for the border wall. As Oliver pointed out, even the Department of Homeland Security issued a report that stated that the Trump administration did not use a specific methodology to identify and prioritize investments in areas along the border that would best benefit from physical barriers. So, he just pointed out that the walls just don't make sense at all. Number 6. COVID vaccines, aka magnets. John Oliver spoke about the conspiracy about people becoming magnetic after getting vaccinated against the new coronavirus. A video of a woman named Joanna Overholt became viral when she demonstrated how magnetic she'd become, producing a key and a bobby pin and trying to stick them to her skin. Sure, I can try to explain what this is. Very basically, public education is horribly underfunded, and scientific literacy is now nowhere near what it should be in this country, creating a vacuum of trust in legitimate research, offered Oliver. And then the kicker? Oh, and if you just meant the key thing, people are sometimes sticky. We're all kind of moist and gross, and keys stick to us sometimes. That's it. Number 5. Tobacco. Back in 2015, the HBO spent about 20 minutes ripping into Philip Morris International in what Oliver called an attempt to ward off more stringent regulations on cigarettes, such as laws that require cigarette boxes to feature pictures of diseased body parts and warnings of the health consequences of smoking. The show said a division of Philip Morris has threatened to sue the Australian government, alleging that the country's requirement that cigarette boxes not bear brand logos or imagery like the Marlboro Man will reduce the value of the brand's trademark and intellectual property. Oliver suggested a remedy to the problem, combining a health warning with a branded character. He put forth a new character that, he said, Philip Morris is free to use to replace the Marlboro Man, Jeff the diseased lung in a cowboy hat. Number 4. Opioid crisis. As the opioid crisis shows no signs of slowing down, Oliver dedicated one episode to Purdue Pharma, the company that developed the prescription painkiller Oxycontin. Oliver has covered the epidemic in 2 prior segments and is revisiting the topic as the CDC estimates there were more than 93,000 deaths from drug overdoses last year, up from 72,151 deaths in 2019. In 2020, Purdue Pharma pled guilty to 3 criminal charges, including paying kickbacks to regulators and doctors as part of an $8 billion settlement. The family that was behind Purdue is the Sacklers, the descendants of Raymond and Mortimer Sackler, who inherited the business after their deaths. For Oliver, the really insidious part is that while there are about 300 civil suits naming the Sacklers themselves, the family will agree to the $8 billion settlement only with a non-consensual third-party release, precluding all future individual liability. Oliver explained, "This thing is bullshit, because if they get it, all current lawsuits against the Sacklers evaporate, and no future lawsuits can be filed, meaning that the Sacklers, who didn't file for personal bankruptcy themselves, remember, are basically off the hook." Number 3. Business Daddy. The host of Last Week Tonight revealed the cancellation of the DC film Batgirl during a segment on monkeypox. While discussing how the U.S. government allowed monkeypox vaccines to expire rather than help other countries in need, he likened it to the move that week by David Zaslav and company to cancel the Leslie Grace-fronted feature. "We let the vaccine sit unused on a shelf in our reserves, like an expired Chobani or a $90 million movie on HBO Max. Hi there, new business daddy. Seems like you're doing a really great job. I do get the vague sense that you're burning down my network for the insurance money, but I'm sure that will all pass," he said. Number 2. Debt buyers. In his record-breaking segment, Oliver analyzed the flaws of the debt-buying industry. He revealed how disturbingly easy it is to start a debt-buying company and how these buyers harass and torment their clients with zombie debt. And to prove his point, just like with his Televangelists segment, Oliver started his own debt-buying company, Carp. He collected over $15 million in debt for giving it all on camera in the biggest TV giveaway since Oprah, officially usurping her as the queen of daytime talk. Number 1. SLAPP Suits. Following his legal battle with Bob Murray over his segment on the coal industry, Oliver talked about the practice of SLAPP suits used by wealthy individuals like Murray to intimidate and silence opponents like himself. After the comedian had beaten Murray and his defamation case, he once more made fun of the coal tycoon, but this time it was through a lengthy musical number titled "Eat Shit, Bob," which is the pinnacle of Last Week Tonight. What do you think about John Oliver? Let us know in the comments down below.